From the surprising rise of fidget toys to the growing influence of AI and semiconductors on love, careers and family life, today we take a look at the trends reshaping young people's lives here and beyond. Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Press Perspective. It's Friday, August 14th here in Seoul. I'm Min Sun-hee. From fidget toys reshaping South Korea's consumer culture and commercial districts to AI and semiconductor jobs influencing dating and birth rates, we explore how unexpected trends are changing everyday life here in Korea and beyond. For this, our freelance journalist Yang Chien-Hao with us. Chien-Hao, welcome back.
Hello, happy Friday. I'm so glad we're going to talk about toys today.
Lovely. I also have Ruy Valdes with Spanish news agency EFE Spain here in the studio. Ruy, it's great to have you back.
Nice to be here, Sunny.
Chien-Hao, we start with you. So let's begin with what are these fidget toys that we have on our desk today and why are they becoming so popular among the young adults here in South Korea?
So this kind of toys are really become very popular recently and lots of people are talking about. You can see them online and they are basically two types. One is the Malangee, which come from the Korean word of Malang. Malang, probably you know that it means like soft or flexible or elastic. So it's a soft rubber that you can stretch and you can squeeze and you can have so many kinds of Malangee in the stores. When you grab the Malangee with your hands, it can feel very relaxing and you can get the feeling that you're control of something. And but at the same time, it won't break or fall apart. It won't hurt your hands or skin. So this is Malangee, and another one is almost completely different or opposite. It's called wakpu pole, and it's a hard wax shell on the outside and then with soft things filling inside. So if it's like a Malangee with like wax outside, and you can easily crush it into your hands like psh. Yeah, and when it breaks, it makes like a cracking sound. And for some people, that can be a way to release their stress and pent up emotions too. And these toys, this kind of toys is not that expensive. I just got this before coming to the studio in the Capital Terminal, in the Express Terminal station. Each costs like about like 2,000 or 3,000 won each per piece. They usually cost like very low, and so many people. You can see there, because today I was in the store, I saw so many people, they are really choosing it and they are observing it and then trying to find their favorite one and enjoy the feeling of squeezing it over and over again or crushing them in their hands. And I think the recent popularity, the reason is probably because like the high level of stressing young people, especially at work. And when work gets stressful, people need some way to let their emotions out or to release their minds, so they can clear their minds and get back to work again. And these kind of toys have very, how can I say, distinctive textures. And each is like you can feel that it's so different. And simply touching, rubbing, or squeezing them can give people like a temporary sense of relief from stress. So recently, every people you can see there in the stationery store or in the toy stores, everybody was searching for this Malangee.
Right, indeed. There is a strange sense of comfort in like touching this texture. Right, Ruy, I believe you have two daughters at home. You've probably tried these fidget toys, right? Because you have quite a selection there on your table.
Yes, exactly. I brought this from home, and honestly, when I knew about the topic of fidget toys, in the moment, I didn't realize exactly what we were going to talk about. And I was like, fidget toys? Well, what does this mean? Then I do a little research, and I'm like, oh, of course, these toys. My house is full of these toys. I'm a journalist, but I'm also a parent, so sometimes you miss these trends because your mind is occupied in other things. But I didn't realize this was a part of this huge trend. And very interesting one, as Chien-Hao was explaining, linked to releasing stress or taking some time off from screen, etc., etc. But well, on my side, yeah, it was definitely through my daughters that I got into these toys. At the same time, it's nice. It's an interesting toy. As a parent in the house, sometimes it's hard to cope with the mess. I mean, they are in the floor. You need to wash them a lot because they get all the dirt from it. So, in a personal basis, they have been a little bit stressful to have so many around. But well, anyways, that's just on a personal note. Clearly, many people like them and many people are consuming them, and not only in Korea. Just recently, I just came back from vacation from Canada, where my two nephews live. We went to visit. They are also very young. And whenever we went to a store, what they wanted was these toys. And they wanted the Malangee, of course. They call it fidget toys, I guess, in Canada. But it was this exactly same type of toys that my daughters wanted. In fact, this one is from Canada. They bought it there in some kind of like a dollar store. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so now reading about it and discussing it right now, well, I get to know that this is really a huge trend in Korea and also apparently in other countries. But yeah.
Right, indeed. And here in Korea, Chien-Hao, this fidget toy craze is even breathing new life, I understand, to struggling commercial districts in the capital, Seoul. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, so when we talk about toys, right? When we talk about toys, we always buy it for babies or kids. But recently, like for people in Seoul, one of the best places for shopping toys is the toy street or the toy market in Changxing-dong, near the Dongdaemun subway station. And here you can find all kinds of toys and stationery products for children from babies till like 12 or 13 years old. I've also visited the toy street very often in order to buy, like, sometimes I buy the toys. Like, for example, I bought the toys there for Stephen Bowie's daughter, Cheha, when she was turned like 3 years old. But with South Korea's declining birth rate, the growing popularity of online shopping nowadays, like we can see that people or schools increasingly they purchase those educational supplies or even toys from internet. And so the customer base of the toy street or the toy community has gradually been disappearing. And same as me, for example, I told you like I went to the Dongdaemun the toy market to get the toys for Steven's daughter. But like this year, I chose like online shopping for the birthday gift for Rui's daughter this year. Yeah, so these days people do most of their shopping through the online, and so they are less interested in coming to the toy stores or the streets to browse and choose toys. But what's interesting is that recently, because of the popularity of Malangee and the Wakubol, this has brought more adults, more young people over like 20 years old or 30 years old to Changxing-dong, to the toy street. And most of them, they are willing to come in person, just look for the Malangee or Wakubol that suits them. And that's because both these toys are all about the sense of touch or feelings. And for example, a Wakubol, it can also like crush almost immediately, so you can't really try it in the stores. But with the Malangee, you can just feel it directly, and you can just choose it. So you can enjoy it in soft and very elastic textures, and then you decide which kind of Malangee you want, and you want to take it home. So many customers also say that the experiences of coming to the toy streets to try to choose one of their favorite, it becomes very like interesting progress. And finding the street relief toy that feels right for you can almost like feel like a treasure hunt, and you finally find the right one. It gives you a sense of satisfaction or accomplishment.
Right, indeed. And speaking about a treasure hunt, Ruy, I understand beyond borders, the fidget toy Nido and that pink one, the one you're holding, that is the Nido, has reportedly triggered a related hunting experience. Could you tell us a bit more about this? Yes,
interestingly, this Nido got somehow involved in the K-pop world, and that is part of the reason why it became so popular. Rose, one of the members of Blackpink, was promoting it. It became this craze. People wanted the Nido, especially one called the Nido Ice Cube, sorry. And this was around April when it really hit the peak. And it went up to regular price that is around $6 to $500 in some places because it just sold out.
$500 US
$500 just one. At the same time, and now currently the craze has decreased to a point that you can find them almost like a double the original price, which is not as high as before, but still they say some variants can go much above that. So it depends on the model. People want this. Was very successful, I guess, advertisement strategy by Rosé. And yeah, so at the same time, as I was mentioning, this has crossed borders. Many people used to think that it was just a Korean trend. As I mentioned, well, I can see it in Canada. And there's also reports from Japanese media that they're becoming very popular there, interviewing kids that say that in their school, at least one of their all their friends have at least one of these Malangees or different types of these fidget toys. And yeah, they also relate in Japan with things related to the satisfying sense, to the stress, to releasing stress by squeezing them. And the price range is also quite similar to this. They also talk about they interview some kids saying that they become kind of addicted to the feeling, so they cannot let go of them. It made me think that my daughter, the youngest one, wanted to sleep with one of these. She couldn't go to bed if she didn't have this Malangee. So yeah, like, I mean, there's something about these toys and this hunting. It seems to continue.
Right. And against this backdrop, Chien-Hao, I wonder, how are experts explaining the appeal of these fidget toys among the adults here in the country?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, I personally think that this is probably has something to do with the high-level working-related stress among young generations. When work becomes stressful, you need some way to release, and they can clear their minds and go back to work. And also, economists here in South Korea also pointed out that young generations and young consumers are increasingly looking for small moments of happiness that are very easy to access and affordable. The stress relief toys like this may only cost, as I just mentioned, like only 2,000 or 3,000 Korean won, but the value created by choosing it, by touching it, and sharing the experiences on social media, on Instagram, on Threads, or even on TikTok, can go far beyond the value of the product itself. And it's not just only Malangee and Wakubo. I've also seen another type of product online. In the United States, it's designed to look like a person's face or skin, covered with lots of pimples and blackheads. And for people who are sensitive to the clustered patterns, it can look really disgusting and make them feel extremely uncomfortable or inconvenient, right? But these kind of toys, when they press their fingers onto the skin, on the pimples or the blackheads, they can actually squeeze and pus and make the the squeeze out the pus. Yeah, like this, and then something comes out. Yeah, so for many people, the process itself can provide a sense of stress relieving or psychological satisfaction as well. And also in Taiwan, I would also like to try to share another thing, that some children in the primary schools who like to put glue on their backs of their hands or arms and keep it for like 3 or 4 minutes, let the glue dry, and then peel off the layer of the glue, and almost like peeling off their skin. So it can give them a surprisingly satisfying sensation as well. And I think the psychological effect is quite similar to like Malangee too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the producer of the show, the toy that you're holding right there, she claims that thing feels like a piece of peace, that is, inner peace within your palm.
Yes, it's
I guess
very
you're right.
healing or very caring. Right.
Right, indeed. In the meantime, Ruy, there has been a few security concerns with regard to these toys as well, I understand. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Well, yeah, I saved it for this moment. As I mentioned, they're nice toys, interesting, but they also come with some cautions that people need to take. Immediately when I saw these toys in my house, the first thing I thought, what happened if it bursts? Like, especially this one, I just thought, what's inside of this? Like, my kid is 3 years old, so she's still in this stage that she cannot really recognize exactly substances. She's very curious with liquids, with fire, and different things, with poking. So I see her very curious on poking this. And yeah, it crossed my mind. I got concerned, and then after reading more about it, yeah, it turns out you need to be careful. Especially, it doesn't mean that all these toys have hazardous materials, but some of them do if you don't check well the quality, the brand. So it's many people or experts recommend that you're really careful on selecting like a recognized brands, on reading the tags, the cautious tags. They quote in a case in the UK where they had to recall what they call the squishy dumpling, which was kind of like a Malangee. It has excessive levels of benzene inside, and this substance is super dangerous. It's like it can cause cancer, including leukemia. But yeah, well, this is a very specific model or brand. At the same time, as I say, kids are curious, so maybe the way we can split this is if you're an adult, probably it's hard that you're gonna get some kind of harm because of this. But especially with young children and kids, for example, there's many cases that report, for example, in Donghaeilbo, a case in the United States that children that this Malangee exploded in a car by getting very hot. And the hot silicone, because it is silicone, but it gets attached in a young girl and it provokes serious burns. They also quote some social media posts and cases also of children that put them in the microwave to make them even softer, and then it can also peel, or when they touch it, it gets attached to their skin. So yes, we need to be careful. We need to check what exact product and what are the warnings. As a parent of young children, well, I'm not gonna throw them away, but I would now be uncomfortable to know that they're alone with the toys. Probably I will just make sure that I'm there while they're using them.
Right, of course, for sure.
Another problem I want to share is that it might be not like environmental friendly, because mostly this like made by silicone or like plastics. So if people just get it and then throw it away, it becomes like trash.
Right, something to think about, of course, for sure. Chien-Hao, let's now turn to another issue of much interest. According to the foreign media, people working in AI and semiconductor industries, they're becoming increasingly sought after in the dating scene. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yeah, so in the past, like men who were like lawyers, doctors, professors, or accountants, these are often being considered as highly desirable marriage prospects. But these days in South Korea, that image seems to be shifting toward men who are working for Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix, because you can see that, for example, recently SNL Korea, the Korean version, the Saturday Night Live had this hilarious sketch about exactly this trend. Like, for example, in the show, about men in sloppy clothes walk into the high-end fashion and luxury store, and at first the female employees, the staffs, they don't seem very particularly interested in him. But then when he took off his jacket, revealing that the words of SK Hynix on the back of his shirt, suddenly everyone is amazed, and he becomes so popular in the stores. The reason is that both Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, they have been benefited enormously from soaring memory chip prices and rising stock prices. As we have talked about this kind of issues before, their employees can also receive year-end bonuses worth 6 figures in US dollars, and making them highly enviable in Korean society. So as a result, more and more young Korean women are now reportedly hope to find employees of Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix, especially engineers, as potential marriage partners. And the idea is that marrying someone from one of these companies could provide financial security and allow them to enjoy a more comfortable and prosperous life in the future. Indeed, a very similar phenomenon can actually be seen in Taiwan as well. That some women, we can hear that they are jokingly saying that if they marry someone who works for TSMC, or if they marry with engineers, they'll be able to live in a good life. But I think we should also look at this from the perspective of the men who work at Samsung Electronics or SK Hynix or even TSMC. They might wonder, they might think about, oh, are people genuinely attracted to me as person, or are they just only attracted to me because my wealth, my money, my financial prospects are increasing. And if it's the latter, the reason, then how much genuine affection is really involved in that relation or the marriage? And also, like more importantly, can that kind of relationship actually last long? That's why I'm very curious. I think that's something worth to think about. They're perhaps marrying someone who works for one of these major companies, for semiconductors makers, could make things like buying a home or investing more or even moving abroad easily, easier in the future. But ultimately, maintaining a relationship isn't just about money. It's also something to do with personality, we call like a compatibility, and whether two people can actually get along. So I don't think it's quite as simple as finding someone only from the Samsung or SK Hynix or TSMC with a good job and assume that everything else could work out eventually.
Right, for sure, for sure. Ruy, Bloomberg claims AI is rewiring Korea's career choices, the dating scene, and the culture here. What have you been observing?
Yes, very much in the line of what Chien-Hao is saying. The article in Bloomberg and many other articles are pointing out that chip workers are becoming the new elite of Korea, as this sketch of Saturday Night Live, Korea, that became viral. Yeah, right now, let's say, if you compare to the past in Korea, but I would say in most countries, you would say, a lawyer, a doctor, those would be the biggest prospects to have like an economically successful life. Probably in this service, they will be in the top of, let's say, potential marriage or people that want to get married with those people in those professions. But now in Korea, with the AI boom, it has changed, and now people are just adding the chip workers also into this equation. The article, well, what happened is that, of course, we all know this. I would say this competition between the two biggest companies in Korea, Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix. SK Hynix becomes growing exponentially because of the AI boom, and this pushes almost, let's say, this pushes that Samsung Electronics almost go to one of the biggest strikes in their history. They resolve it by offering huge bonuses to their workers in a similar way that SK Hynix already was doing. So yeah, all this is all over the news. Of course, people are watching this. This goes all the way into the international media. And yeah, now when we talk about the chip workers, you cannot stop thinking on these bonuses, on these successful, let's say, economically successful lives. Yeah, the culture also. In the article, they describe what's happening in Dongtan, south of Seoul. With the prices of the apartments, with the lifestyle there, people going for luxury goods, so people that work in the semiconductor industry. And, well, the sketch of Saturday Night Live is also mentioned as a way that it has now entered pop culture. And finally, they talk about student life. Right now, they quote Yonghwa Academy data, and in Seoul National University, the programs that are most demanded are the ones related to semiconductors. They were harder to enter in the 2026 admission cycle than in natural science, for example, in this the major university. So yeah, for decades, medicine was like classic path, maybe in Korea for top students. Now semiconductors look like a more direct route into this AI boom.
Right, indeed. And before we end, very quickly, Chien-Hao, I'd like to circle back to something you mentioned about Taiwan and TSMC. I understand the birth rates there also vary depending on where semiconductor hubs are located. Could you tell us a bit more about this?
Yes, because like people who are working in the scientific complex, the industry complex, like for example, like couples, they are more wealthy. So that means that they are more affordable to have kids. So that's why we can see that in the Hsinchu area or in the Tainan or Taichung area, now we have more the complex, industrial complex area. And most of them, after they get married, the couples, and they can get a more better house, and they are more easy to have kids because their salary or their income level is relatively higher than other average people in Taiwan.
Right,
Yeah.
I see. More children and more squishy toys on Malangee then. I'm afraid that's all the time we have. Chien-Hao, as always, thank you so much for your time and your thoughts.
Yeah, thank you.
Ruy, thank you very much for your insights.
Thank you, Sun-hee.
Right, whether it's a pocket-sized toy or a high-tech career, today's trends no doubt offer a fascinating glimpse into how our society is evolving and where it may be heading next. Thank you for watching.